looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Barry and Mac Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports performance coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing tonight, D-Mac?
What's going on, Beast? Good to be on. Shout out to all the day ones. I see you on here, Bishop, Monty, Kaja, Golded, you know what I'm saying? Rod, Greg, good to see you guys on. I'm excited about today's show. One of my brothers from another, my actual roommate, Bay Area native, is going to be on talking about some of his things as he was as a Sooner, and then obviously he coached alongside BV that first year when BV came back. So I'm excited to bring him into the fold. And camp's wrapping up. You know, they're getting ready to start going into week 0 getting ready for prep for week 1. And so excited to talk about some of the things to expect going into the season and what the guys are really feeling, thinking about right now. What position group are we doing? I don't even know. We just gonna go off the hip. Are we doing a position group or are we just?
Yeah, let's do. Yeah, but what I'd really like to talk about is offensive line a little bit, right? But with Lance here, we'll just kind of see, man. Maybe Lance will chime in on a couple things.
Yeah, we might have to do backers, bro. We can't have L Mitch and we do the whole line.
That might be the way to go. We were scheduled kind of for flip-flopping and going back and forth. Offensive line's the move, but yeah, we might have to call an audible. I think that's all good. Before we get rocking and rolling, I want to remind everyone this show is brought to you by OU Insider, OUinsider.com. Go over there, get yourself a membership. Folks, football season is right around the corner. If you want to be up on all the recruiting news, team news, want to know what's going on in fall camp, who's sitting, who's playing, who's getting reps, who's not, OU Insider is the ticket. They got everything you need over there. Parker, Brandon, and the crew do a phenomenal job. You can catch me and Damian posting over there. I just did an evaluation on James Tank Carrington. I got to tell you, D-Mac, similar with RMT, another guy who really surprised when you turned on the film. So I'm just going to tell you guys, go over there and check the evaluation. And I'll ask Lance about this maybe later on, but just the importance of it in general. But he has some of the best hands as a defensive lineman that I've seen on a younger high school prospect. And very polished in that regard. He's not as explosive as a Halton. I've seen that be the comp, but he is a guy who does have some punch in the hands. But not why we're here tonight, D-Mac. I'm gonna let you bring him in. But first, I wanted to say how ironic that tonight's episode is episode 110, and I'm gonna pass it over to you.
Guys, listen, man, it's always an honor and a pleasure to do the show with my bro. Me and Barry, this is 3rd season, man. That's crazy. This is our 3rd season doing this. Yeah. And shout out to all you guys. Our first, year and a half was our first 2 years was just audio, no video, right? We just cracked video like October last year, so it hasn't even been a year of video. But obviously you guys have been on the show for a while, know that we periodically bring on guests. We've had T. Marshall on, we've had Roy Lee on, we've had Mark Clayton on, we've had Stephen Parker on, we've had a lot of guys on. You know, we've had some media guys, and tonight, man, is really dope, man. This guy right here, we didn't get a chance to play together because I got injured, but I was still at the university. He was transferring in from from City College San Francisco. I don't know if we're going to tell the real story. When he gets on, he going to laugh because his recruiting story is wild. I don't know if we'll share that tonight because there's some shenanigans, like a lot of shenanigans. But guys, he one of the best linebackers nobody talks about. He and Teddy created a dynamic duo as two literally junkyard dogs who will knock your head off. extremely intelligent, extremely physical. But if you know him, you know him. Like, he's such a good person off the field, and he played well at OU. He went to the NFL. I had a good time there, guys. I'm excited to have my brother. Like, literally to this day, we still locked in, man. My roommate from college and somebody who I consider family, Lance Mitchell, on the show with us, man. Go ahead and bring him up.
Absolutely, man. We'll go ahead and flip it up. And Lance, just to kind of open the show and get the ball rolling, you didn't have necessarily the traditional like high school to D1 program trajectory. And at the time, you saw Oklahoma was on the come up. The come up had happened. They win a championship, and the linebacker play at Oklahoma was pretty good. At the time, you saw Rocky and Torrance. Layman was on campus at the time, I believe, DMAC. So Lance, what ends up getting you to Norman where you have the confidence to say, you know what, I'm going to fight and be an absolute dog on this football team and make hay from the moment I arrive? Where did that come from?
So first of all, I appreciate you guys having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity to get on here and rap with you and talk a little OU football. So we can get into it. What got me to Oklahoma was extremely it wasn't traditional at all. So coming out of City College, San Francisco, living in California, I knew absolutely nothing about OU football. Even the national championship that they had won, I didn't even watch it. At the time, I was busy folding laundry and working in the back of a UPS truck because
you a hater, bro.
You know what? I was a busy guy, man. I was living off of $5 a week inside of a small apartment in San Francisco
Hater.
at 18, trying to make it work. But what got me here was 2001. A very high energy coach by the name of Brent Venables popped up in our locker room. First time I'd met him, but this wasn't the first time I'd spoken to him. So if anybody knows anything about Brent Venables, they know he is who he is. He never changes. And at that point in time, I think he was probably 27, 28. So you can only imagine off of his sixth Red Bull how intense he was. He was my strongest recruiter. You have to understand, I was at the time being recruited essentially by everybody, probably with the exception of University of Miami, maybe Georgia. Those were probably like the only two teams that were not recruiting me at the time. And this was a guy that had to essentially educate me on Oklahoma football. Being from California, football wasn't the biggest thing for us, but it was big for me. Growing up in San Francisco, I grew up a 49er fan.
Say that.
Absolutely. I'm going to say it. You know what I mean? But no, he was the main reason. Besides him and Bob and the support of OU football that was behind him, they did everything first class just to get us there. And then once they got us there, they opened up my eyes to a whole nother level of football. I was extremely impressed with Norman in itself and how game days rocked out. It was like the best experience. And I took all my visits, so OU was definitely at the tops. But I did not sign with OU after my recruiting visit. I ended up signing with the University of Florida. My recruiting visit was probably the worst ever.
Come on, bro. Whoa.
It was the worst ever.
Hey, bro. So you didn't say you chose OU because of your host. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold on, bro. I was batting like 800. When I hosted people, they came. So I'm just don't do me like that, old Mitch. Don't do me.
Hey, it wasn't a you thing. It was a circumstance thing. You know what I mean? Like, you and Roy Lee made us feel at home. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this with these guys. But what went down when I got on that plane and went home? I said I will never come back to the state of Oklahoma.
Hey, we're not gonna tell that story tonight, bro. We're not telling that story. No. We're not telling that story. I'm gonna say this though. I will say this. Barry, true story. Let me say this, Barry. Let me say this, Mitch. True freaking story. I take El Mitch and Pasha out. By the way, Pasha's coming. El Mitch. Was
Yes.
Pasha coming?
He was on board.
Pasha's coming.
Like, he was
Pasha's
locked
all
in.
the way. I take them back to the post office hotels where we used to take the players, right off Highway 9. By the way, it was beautiful back then. I think they still use it.
It's still nice now.
Yeah. The post office
Yes.
hotel. I take Lance and Pasha back. Lance is disgusted. By the way, I'm disgusted. Lance, was I upset too? I was upset.
Yes.
I was highly
100%.
upset. I was extremely upset that night. I take those boys back. I finally get home. It's like 3 a.m, and I get a call from the OU lawyer. That's how bad. I got a call from the lawyer, like, Mackie, we need you to come. I'm like, what the hell happened?
Yes.
So yeah, I gotta roll with my guy. It wasn't ideal.
At all,
man.
Right? Yeah, at all. So went to Florida. This was when Steve Spurrier was a head coach there. And mind you, my biggest reason for choosing Florida at the time was I knew a little more about them. I was always a Fred Taylor fan. I was intrigued with the SEC at the time. I loved everything about that conference from a physicality and a defensive standpoint. You follow me? But that doesn't, OU, it doesn't, they never come in second. And at this time, I had no idea that OU was on the rise. You have to understand, for me, Florida was a little more popular in my eyes, and that's all it was. It was a very immature, it was immature. I didn't know much. I didn't have a lot of support helping me make these decisions. I was essentially on my own. So if you can get me down there and I had an okay visit, I was good to go compared to what happened at OU. You know what I mean? I was just glad the police was, well, at the time, you have to understand, the Norman PD cannot go out there. So it was federal police that showed up. You have to understand. Absolutely. You know what I mean? You have to understand it 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when you sleep and you get a knock from the suits. You know what I mean? You try to figure out what's going on.
They ain't going to want to know nothing else. They're going to want to know. We're not telling that story.
We're not going any further than that. But just understand the suits were knocking on the door and needed some answers.
Crazy night. That was a crazy night.
Can I ask a question? Just real quick segue. Like how many, I'm sure the fans want to know this, how many situations, Lance, D-Mac, did Stoops and the staff deal with that like never even made it to airwaves and never even made it to the papers on stuff where things happened and you got to handle that and keep it under wraps and just kind of keep it moving, if you will?
I mean, I'll let you go first, Mitch.
You know what? There were a lot of minor things. I think Bob Stoops and his maturity, he handled a lot of things well. He gave a lot of guys grace based off of, he took a lot of factors into account. You know what I mean? Where you're from, your support system, your age, just a lot of different things. So he's never going to just completely kick a guy off. He's going to fight for you. But there are some, in my experience, there was probably about 2 or 3 major ones behind the scene that he had to deal with that a lot of people probably wouldn't want to deal with.
Yeah, I saw a few more. 99 season, I mean, we had like 30 guys leave, 30 or 40. I mean, we lost a lot of scholarship players that year, and part of it was guys not fitting the culture and not really wanting to work. So but part of it was some shit going down. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, listen, college football, you know what I'm saying? There's certain things that, you just don't, women related, lots of women related stuff. There's a couple that we will take to the grave. Some, you know what I'm saying? Illegal activities. Also, you might experience some illegal stuff. Here's what I would say: for Lance and when Lance and those guys got here, it was football. Priority 1, 2, and 3 by 02, 03, football. 98, 99, it was a little bit sketchy still. But I think less. The biggest thing we would generally have is some girl complaining. You know what I'm saying? Or some frat dude mad because Lance, how about this one? Listen, at OU, football reigned king, period. And there were fraternity dudes who had their girls and this and that, and they had their girl until a football player decided he wanted. I don't know. I don't want to sound bad, but I'm just saying 20-year-old kids, national champions and whatever. Listen, college kids
Hey,
gonna be college kids.
Schmitty built young, strapping, handsome young men.
young lads. Schmitty.
Running around campus with your shirt off. Right?
Hey, he was cutting up a little bit, just a little bit though, just a little bit. He was cutting up a little bit.
Man, so what ends up getting you to Oklahoma, Lance?
So what happened was I was sitting there in my dorm room getting ready to leave Florida because they had – so essentially I wasn't eligible to play that following season based off an SEC rule from an English class that I didn't take. But every other conference I was eligible to play right away. SEC had its own set of standards academically for JUCO guys coming in. So when I get there, Steve Spurrier leaves, goes to the Commanders, or back then Redskins, and Ron Zook was the head coach. And the day I met this guy, nothing against Ron, right? I just didn't feel his energy. He was talking too fast. You know what I mean? I was a little older. I've been through a lot of things in life. So when a guy starts talking fast to me, it makes me kind of back up, pull back. So Pasha and I were on the phone kind of joking about Niners and Raiders that played. The Niners that beat the Raiders. And so I called him up. I'm just talking try. Yeah, you see that game? And so he's like, yeah, what are you doing? I said, yeah, I think I'm getting ready to go back home. I'm probably going to go ahead and go to SC. Because mind you, at this point, OU's out of the question for me. You know what I mean? I'm literally like, I will never go back to Norman ever again in my life. So I'm literally traumatized at this point when we're talking about Norman, Oklahoma. So he's like, oh, you're leaving? And I told him why. So he hangs up and he calls Bob. Bob calls me back within 5 minutes and offered me a scholarship. As I'm on the phone with Bob, BB's calling on the other line. So I talked to them. I let them know what I was doing. We hang up. BV calls my mom because this whole time she had been telling me she loves BV, go to OU. That was her number one the whole time. Like she never connected with another coach at all. So she asked me, she's like, I want you to go to OU. I love BV. And so, I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. He's just like the rest of the guys, talking fast. You know what I mean? Trying to sell this program. But I had no idea. So I ended up selling my TV and radio. And I was on a flight to Norman the next day. So that's how I got to OU. It was it started off a hell of a journey to begin with. But I can say this for anyone that would ever think about recruiting and the guys they're going to do. Schmitty had the biggest impact on me as a man. First of all, as a man, he and I are like best friends till this day. Absolutely. And BV, they had a huge impact on me because they're not all about football, but those dudes are about raising a young man up in a hurry the right way. You know what I mean? The mindset that they instill in you and that work ethic is literally second to none. I've never seen anything like it. And that's what's instilled in me. So I just fell in love with it. That's why Schmidt and I have a relationship we do now because I never complained. The dude challenged me every single day to the max, probably harder than anyone else. So that was a great opportunity. That was a true blessing for me at that point.
D-Mac, go ahead.
No. All I was going to say is one day I get a call from, by the way, true story, guys. I get a call from Bob every week. Like, yo, we need you to host the top recruit because I had gotten injured. I was a returning starter. I had a really nice car. They knew that they used to be like, Mac, you don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. We knew who we needed to know around town. And so Lance and Pasha come. I knew Lance wasn't coming. Me and Lance talked like, yeah, this. I think I even said to him like, yeah, bro, this is because I had to. They called me and I had to go back at like 4 a.m. and me and Lance looking at each other, shaking our head.
Yeah.
One day we'll tell that story. Lance, come back off season. It'll be an off season story we'll tell.
Yes, sir.
It's a hilarious story. By the way, everybody could have went to jail that night.
Yes.
Everybody could have went to jail that night.
And no one did anything though.
And
that
no
was
one did
the
anything
crazy
wrong.
thing about it.
Crazy part.
Yes. Like,
Yeah, man.
I was asleep. Literally sleep.
Facts. But anyway, I was gonna say, one day, I'm like, okay, Lance ain't coming. Posh was like, I'm still coming. I was like, okay, cool. Well, like however much time later, Lance went to Florida. I think we kept in touch too, bro. I think I called you a couple of times. You're like, yeah, I'm out here. And then one day, Coach called me like, yo, Mackie, you got room at your spot? And I was like, yeah, because I have my own apartment. And my cousin had moved to Oklahoma with me. And it was like, Pasha and Lance, I don't know if they could move in with you. And so it went from Lance was. Did Pasha live with me for a while first? Did you not go through spring?
That first year.
Pasha was in that spring, right? That spring, Pasha was there and you weren't, and then you came for fall.
Yes.
Yeah. That's how it went.
Yep.
So
No, I came for no. Remember, I came late. I came like 2 months later. You know what I mean? It was
okay.
Because Florida was on a quarter system. Yeah. They started a lot earlier, so I was able to get out of there. Then I got here in February. It was still snow on ground when I arrived in North.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, and so Lance ended up coming, and man, Lance's first day. Remember I scrubbed on the moped, bro?
Yep.
Broke my phone.
Hey, Concretion wins every time.
Posh and his whack ass moped. I was so mad about that damn. Anyway, good times. We ended up living together 2 years, and man, Four is a brother. That's my bro.
Yeah,
Lance is bro for life now.
Absolutely,
man. Lance, while I ask this next question, see if there's a camera button over there on your computer you can hit so people can see your face. But I want to ask this to both you guys, really from both perspectives. Lance, you were already a more mature player by the time you got to Oklahoma, and you talk about Coach Schmidt being there. And D-Mac, you had already been through the gauntlet with Coach Schmidt. So my question is, when you got to Norman and the impact that he did have on your life and you as a man, how did, the workouts at this point are kind of legendary. You've seen him both then as well as now, right? I don't think that's a secret, and the things that have changed. But when you got to Norman, where did you feel that you kind of fit in on the pecking order of the workouts and the leadership? And how did you try to make yourself ingratiated with the program and with the team early on? And then, D-Mac, if you have any insight, I know you weren't there necessarily for all this, but just anything you could bring from your perspective there. But Lance, you first.
So from the workout physical standpoint, I was probably very low on the totem pole. Like, so far down this totem pole, it was like embarrassing, to say the least. I never seen dudes so big run so fast in my life. You have to understand, I was in a group with Teddy Lehman and Russell Dennison that both run like DBs, literally. So you don't understand, I was coming off of a knee surgery. I've never worked out like this a day in my life. But all I knew was effort. You know what I mean? So that part, I was able to earn the respect of guys because regardless of my abilities, my effort kept me in the race, have you will. But I wasn't very vocal. Never was very vocal coming in. I just wanted to work hard and earn my way up. But once we got into winter workouts and they called out the depth chart, that's when I knew things had changed for me. Because BB kept his word. He didn't even make me start with the 2s or the 3s. He was like, Mitch, you're up. I'm looking around like, what? Like, just like that? Right? Absolutely. Hopped in, and at that point, there were some dudes that were a little upset and bitter about it, as they should have been, right? Like, who's this new guy coming in?
Who should have been upset? Name him.
I'm not gonna say any names. I can't do them like that. I love them too much. I won't do that.
Film don't lie, bro. Film don't lie, bro.
Right. Just pull up the depth chart and you can probably see there was an older guy.
Teddy moved from Mike to Will when Mitch came. Oh, let's just call a spade a spade.
But Teddy was like, man, he was so important for my development that winter because he had already played the position. He was constantly talking to me. about what to see, what to check, what to call. You know what I mean? He was essentially still making the calls as a will linebacker, you know what I mean, until I was able to pick up on the system. But he was so important for my development moving along. You know, that's kind of allowed me to come out fast. You know what I mean? Um, and what was your other question from Smitty's standpoint?
Yeah, just from a Schmitty standpoint, people love the stories and the legend of that. So that, what was your journey with him, or were there any moments where they were sort of transitional moments, if you will, of like, okay, I think I'm good. I think I'm here to stay. My times are good. My lifts are good. Like, was there a point for you with that?
Well, so I always made my times, right? Like I was gonna make the times regardless. Like there was no choice. I'm gonna make the time. But where I'm at in the line is where I was competing with myself, right? But Smitty, he was on me from day one.
Hmm.
Absolute day one. I never had a day off except for Saturday and Sunday. I never got a break off, or when guys got to go home for the summer break, I never got to take that off. He'd be like, "Big dog, see you in the morning," and that was every break. You know what I mean? Every day. There wasn't a day where we weren't doing something, and he saw a lot in me where he had to catch me up to speed. You know what I mean? I knew he knew, right? He's like, "Oh yeah, I got to get him ready." So he took a lot. I mean, that dude took so much time to. He went so far out of his way from every aspect, making sure I was comfortable off the field, making sure I had everything I needed. You know what I mean, within the rules and the guidelines. But he made sure that I wasn't homesick. I was straight. I was good to go, and I focused on getting ready for the upcoming season because it was a big deal. I had no idea how big it was. You know what I mean? I had absolutely no idea until spring game. But his part for me, like seriously, he never ever yelled at me in a way of disappointment. It was all a motivational standpoint because I was older and was able to handle hard coaching. But people call it hard. I call it grown man business. You know what I mean? Like, you
Hmm.
can't come out of high school with these kid mindsets. So for him, I already had the mindset. You know what I mean? So I loved it. I literally loved it. Never had a bad day with him except for one weekend out messing around with D-Mac, partying a little bit.
Whoa.
Hold on, we're going to talk
Whoa.
about it now.
Go.
So if you tell your version, I'm telling my version after because I know the real story. Go ahead.
And
Go ahead.
that
I'm gonna let you
freaking
Go.
that Monday, I didn't make one time that workout. I was coming off of a full weekend, and I don't even party, right? So, yeah, I appreciated that. Never again, though.
First of all, I wanted to stay home. Y'all, well, I can't say you because you probably wanted to stay on too. You probably did want to, but I was like, I don't want to go out. Come on, Mac. If you remember, they was like, if y'all come, we
Right.
get in for free. I wanted
Yeah,
to stay home. Mac,
yeah.
El Mitch, you knew my situation. I had a little bit
I
over
did.
here, and a little bit over here. You know, so
Absolutely.
I was chilling.
Absolutely. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Hey,
Right.
but we went to that thing. That was a whole other night. I ain't telling that story today either.
Good times,
Police
hey, those
came.
those
Yeah,
moments are what you're there
yeah.
for, right? Go
That
ahead
was a
and
crazy
enjoy
night
your
too.
college experience.
I didn't want to party for just this is like my 5th year on campus. I'm done
Yeah,
playing.
absolutely.
I'm making sure my boys are good, whatever. And it wasn't even Lance either. Lance wasn't trying to big party. It was the people we was with. They was from Cali and they was trying to experience some stuff and
Yeah.
they experienced some stuff that night for sure. Somebody went to jail that night. That night somebody went to jail.
Yeah, absolutely. Too
Somebody
much. Yeah.
too much.
Somebody's going to jail. Right.
Man, somebody went to jail that night. By the way, nobody found out. I will tell this part. This is what I will tell. I think I said this on the pod. And Lance, I know you remember this. So the night happens, shenanigans goes down. It goes down. Frat house, I think at the Fiji house. We at the Fiji
Yes,
house.
sir.
It's shenanigans. Lance's name comes up. Okay,
Yep.
like in the shenanigans, a coach. I don't know how he found. I don't know how he found out. He was there in 10 minutes, and we sit on the curb, and I
On
see
the
him
curb.
first. Like, damn, D-Mac, what the hell is going on? I'm like, come on, coach, like coach. And the police are like, nah, he's good, he's good. And the coach comes and says, "Where's Lance Mitchell? Lance, get up! You ain't in this." And Lance walked away.
No, this is what he tells me. He pulls up, and I'm trying to explain what happened. Right? He didn't even let me get a word out. He's like, "Lance, shut the F up, get up, and go home." Right? But shut the F up, get up, and go home. I get up, I go home. But my brother went to jail. Yeah.
And he like, D-Mac, what the hell? I said, Coach,
Yeah.
I wanted to stay home. Like, I'm just trying to make sure everybody good. So he was like, Lance is good. He was like, okay. And he left.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Yeah, it was a crazy, we had some crazy times, bro. We did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Learning
So, man. So you had a little bit of time in professional football. Kind of give the people just a little, I guess, encompassing story of your journey that essentially gets you to Norman, and then of course what's going on for you now. But we obviously want to talk about your recent time in Oklahoma. Maybe touch on a few things that we can, discuss. That are still that are within reason. But talk about your journey out of Oklahoma, and then professional football, and then what got you back into the coaching world, and why you're staying in that right now.
Okay, so when I leave in 05 after that SC game, I was so sick. It was hard to even come back to Norman after that loss, just based off of disappointment and how we handled ourselves in that game. Because at the end of the day, if we would have lost, it should have been closer. You know what I mean? We did everything in our power to hand them that win. You know what I mean? But that's for another day. So I go play a year with the Cardinals. And then I played a year in arena ball. I ended up hanging that up in 08, and I got into the fire service. So I started my training to become a firefighter in San Francisco. So I went through that for 3 years, but at the same time, I was coaching at the City College of San Francisco. And we ended up winning 2 national championships. And I had every group of backers I had, they all ended up going D1. And all this stuff is stuff that I learned from the man that coached me. I took what I learned from him. I took the mindset that I got from Schmitty, and I put all that in one. And that product that I was able to put out was an awesome product. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything that I had. It was something that I learned, and something that I borrowed from these other guys that coached me. So BV and I would always text, and Schmitty and I would always text once a year, here and there. Hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? Schmitty and I would always say, hey, something opens up, let me know. So 2014, I remember this like it was yesterday. I get a letter. So at this time, I had already did everything for the fire department, had my EMT certs. I'm certified. I'm ready to go. I meet with the fire chief of San Francisco. She ends up pulling my name for the list. So I got my offer letter from San Francisco Fire Department. I'm excited. I'm like, oh man, I finally hit it. I'm about to go finish the rest of my journey as a firefighter. Literally the next day, I get a text message from Schmitty. Dog, what's up? Give me a call. No, give me a holler. That's how he talks, right? Give me a holler. Called him up. What are you doing? I told him what I'm doing. He said, hey, listen, I got a position. Are you interested? Here's path left to the fire department, path right, OU football, industry and condition department. I was at the Notre Dame game by that weekend. You know what I mean? That's literally how fast it went.
Is that Blake Bell and those guys when they play in Norman?
No, we went up there. We were in,
okay.
Yeah,
so that's Striker and those guys when we beat them.
Wow, yeah.
Yep. So I'm literally at Notre Dame, would always want to go see this stadium. So it was a surreal moment, you know. But at the time, I left Oakland to come here to explore the opportunity, right? But at the time I had 2 younger kids, and I ended up leaving because it was extremely devastating, especially for my daughter at the time. She was young. Talked to Schmitty. It was a very tough decision. He's like, dog, you can never get that time back, man. You know what I mean? And so I was just super disappointed that I took the opportunity and wasn't able to see it all the way through. But it was, it was based off of me going and being with my kids. It was something that I couldn't live with at that time. So fast forward to 2021. BV and I are literally still texting once a year up to this point. So Lincoln leaves, whatever day he leaves, and I see once BV had got hired, he was down. What was that? The Alamo or the Holiday Bowl? That Bob Stoops
Alamo
Bowl. Yeah,
the Alamo Bowl. I see Schmitty and BV on the sidelines at that game. BV calls me the next morning, and he's straightforward. Hey, I need your driver's license. Send it over.
You're closing you off top.
Yeah. Send your driver's license. Literally. So I send it over. And at the time, I don't have my bachelor's. I'm one class away. So I'm like, hey, I can get into a class right now and have that done by the spring. So I made some phone calls, called up a good friend of mine. Some really good friends out here in Norman allowed me to live at their house. They actually paid for the class. I came to Norman, took the class, and was on the field by that spring. So it was beautiful. It's been one of the best experiences. I've been really lucky and fortunate to have been connected with some coaches that look out for their players years down the road, and that doesn't always happen. You know what I mean? Some guys don't answer the phone. You know what I mean? It turns into a very salty situation when guys, give this whole impression that, hey, we're here to look out for you and your life, but these guys actually did it. So that's been a true blessing being attached to these guys.
Hey, let me ask you a question, because you're throwing nerves. I'm throwing fastballs. Mitch, you were in the building 2 years ago. A lot of guys who are returning starters and veteran guys were in the building when you were in the building. Give me some cues on some of the players that returned, like Kip Lewis. And by the way, I'm gonna give away some of my juice now. Lance is the one who told me Kip was a dog and RSJ was dogs when they was puppies.
Yeah.
So when that Texas game, now Lance was like, Mac, they got it. I needed to see it first. And then that Texas game, when I saw what I saw, I was like, okay, Lance. But Grayson Halton, Kip Lewis, RSJ, a lot of those guys, listen, we're not an insider show, so guys don't expect us to ask Lance to tell you guys secrets, because we're not, and that's not what we do, and I don't expect him to do that either. But I would, any players you can big up, guys who you saw who were talented, I'd love for you to tell your purview on some of the players that you worked with.
Well, okay, so like I said, I'll give you a little bit just on those guys and their journeys. So that handful of guys that we spoke about, R. Mason Thomas, Grayson Halton, Kip Lewis, Robert Spears Jennings. I saw from day one that the only thing that stood in their way was they were young. They were just young. BV runs a system that's not the easiest to grasp, depending on what kind of high school situation you come in from, how well do you understand the game, because he's a cerebral human being. And if you can't concept his game plan based off of what we're trying to do and what they're trying to do to us, you just will not play as fast as you want. It just will not happen. And I could speak for those youngsters that athletically they had it. Like I can tell you now, so they'll all test out at the gym, right? I'm not too sure about Robert, but I know that he'll probably be one of the faster ones there. His issue, either he was a little undersized guy, but the boy could play football. He has a hell of a feel for the game. He has a nose for the ball. He doesn't care about anything else. He has fun doing it, and he is a highly competitive young man. The same as Grayson, super competitive, extremely athletic. And I'm not just saying this. This is things that people already know and have been able to see up to this point. R. Mason was ankle injuries early, so he wasn't able to bend the way he wanted to show people that he can bend his ass off. Like that dude, he can probably turn that corner with his nose on the ground That's how well he bends, and guys are seeing that now. You know what I mean? So I'm really glad that they're healthy. That's all that was standing. Maturity and health, and obviously there's going to be some development that goes on. They've been in that system. They know that system. Now they can think like their defensive coordinator. They're going to be tough to deal with.
Well, I was asked, what do you think? 3 years into the system now. Is this year 4? This is year 4 in the system now. Yeah. We had 3 years. This is year 4. Some people are talking top 30 defense, top 20 defense. What do you think is the ceiling for this crew that's going to be playing defense this season?
I put it to you like this, and I tell you like BV told me, we're all creatures of habit, right? Look at BV's track record. It's by no surprise that man has been successful since the 90s. You understand how long that is? Like, just put that in perspective, right? He will outwork anybody. He's the kind of guy that's going to burn the candle at both ends. You know what I mean? And if there's one thing that I think that he's probably done a better job at trying to adjust is not to overdo it. You know what I mean? Because he's going to prepare. You're going to be prepared. There will never be a team that will not be prepared. Almost over prepared, if that makes sense. So I mean, the sky's the limit. The only thing they're going to run into is just like any other team, right? Can you stay healthy?
Right.
Health, for me, is the only concern that I have. Right? They were injury plagued last year. And like I said, I'm totally confident in the fact that if they're healthy, number one should be where they'll end up. And look at what they did last year. You know what I mean? Look at what they did. Look how they played. I mean, they didn't really have any issues with hardly anybody, and they were steady plugging and playing different guys. You know what I mean? And so it's a system, but it's a player. But if you can get the players with that system, I mean, look at it. He's won how many national championships based off of defense? You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't happen out of thin air. It's because he worked for it and he prepared for it. So it's understanding that defensively there are going to be no issues other than staying focused, right, and staying healthy. That's the only thing they got to worry about. Because the only thing that can hurt certain dudes, which he does a good job at, is once we're up here, now let's stay up here for ourselves. And that's really going to be a challenge for any human being.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you one more question, then Barry, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah.
And these are questions I don't think I've ever asked Lance offline even. I'm going to ask you this on the air. Again, I would speak to this one from the context of we don't want to give away OU secrets, but you were on the staff. You were in those rooms. You were in those offices. Just what was the culture like in the sense of the coaches meeting together and game planning, or you guys meeting with the kids or the young men and game planning? Like, walk us through what that looks like, just because, like there's a lot of people who want to know what the inner workings of structures and things of that nature. What are 2 or 3 things that you feel like, please don't share something on the air that is going to be inappropriate for fans to hear. Sorry, guys, we're not that show. But I do want to kind of provide context to what it was like to be in those rooms and having conversations with BV and the rest of the coaches on the staff. Out of respect for everybody, starting with BV, I'll never give away any of his secrets. I'll only give you what people actually see, right? At a press conference. You can listen to that man and understand what kind of man he is. You know what I mean? That's first and foremost. So imagine taking those 5-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute segments and putting those into 4 and 5 hour meetings. You follow me? And I can speak from being an ex-player, right? He is going to prepare, but the first thing he's going to do is once he walks in that building, he snaps into a totally different mode. You follow me? Like, he goes into character. He's not going to open that door slow. He's going to walk in that door fast. 5 Red Bulls. Hey, 2025, still 5 Red Bulls.
I'm not sure if he does the Red Bulls anymore, but he used to do that when he was younger. You know what I mean? But he's going to get his workouts. He's going to be like he's, if there's a war, he's going to be in the front line with you. You know what I mean? Ready to go. That's all I can say from that standpoint. But the biggest thing that I was able to take away that I'm always going to be able to hold on to is his attention to details with everything. You know what I mean? He's so intentional about how he does things. You know what I mean? Super professional, super structured, and he coaches his coaches harder than he does his players. You know what I mean, though? So he attacks that area first, and then it's up to the other coaches to instill that into the players, if that makes sense. But like I said, the one thing that I could take away from that is his work ethic, his attention to details, always prepared, always prepared, and he's never going to take anyone for granted. That's what I love about it. Like he used to tell us, like we're getting ready to play Tulsa or whatever school that we're supposed to be by 50. He's going to talk about, hey, this guy right here is all world. I'm telling you, like this guy right here, he'll go 90 on you right now. You know what I mean? Like he's giving you the mindset that you're gonna go play freaking Barry Sanders the next day. Like,
hey, Spurrier was the exact opposite. We'd be in film. Spurrier be like, God damn it, D-Mac, if you don't whoop this guy sucks. How did he get a scholarship? Spurrier was the exact opposite.
Like they're gonna be striking the bench. You know what I mean? You better get your ass down and act after things going. Like he is that dude. Yeah. He never changes. Never changes. Consistency will always win on his side. He's super consistent.
But Lance, I want to ask you about a guy who's on the coaching staff, and he's really in the thick of the discussion right now because you had Carrington flip his commitment just recently back to Oklahoma, and it's Coach Bates. He was somebody who Venables targeted as a coach to bring in very early on. It seemed as if Bates was maybe, if not number one priority, DMAC, with where OU's defensive line talent was.
Sure.
He was top 3 for sure. You saw what he did at Clemson, the players he had brought in there, and what those guys are doing in the pros. So I guess this is more of a twofold question for you, Lance. And then I want to maybe dial in a little more on just kind of the prospects of this upcoming season and talk a little bird's eye view. But what does Coach Bates mean on the recruiting and coaching end for somebody who was in the building and you see a player flip? You see a David Stone end up coming to Oklahoma, a guy like Jaden Jackson, who I don't think anybody saw him contributing like he did, other than maybe, DMAC talked about, like, man, he might be a guy to watch. And now you see these guys, NFL level talent that OU was missing along the front. And I don't think that's a secret to anybody. And now you see it in there, but not only in there, getting coached up, being developed. You got multiple guys who are going to get into the league because of body types, their attributes. Talk about Bates and what you saw from your vantage point.
So, and I tell recruits this, and I used to tell Todd this. I've told this to his face, is that he's one of the best communicators I've ever been around. His ability to get his message and point across what I was extremely impressive. I think at the time, I was like, he's an older player's coach, right? That's why you see guys develop better under him when they're younger. A lot of dudes sometimes need a rah-rah guy on your ass all the time, right? And that's not his style. What his style is all fundamental, detail-oriented, and understanding the position of D-line. He has so many things that he teaches these guys. It was a blessing to sit back and listen to him, you know what I mean? Because his communication skills are off the charts. And when we're talking recruiting, I think, he does a really good job, but recruiting at OU is always going to be a collective thing, starting with the man at the top. It's going to start at BV, and then everybody has to get on board. It's not one guy go after this guy deal. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're responsible for that guy, but I can assure you that those players that they're recruiting are going to hear from more than just Todd, BV. You know what I mean? There's other guys that are going to get involved and make sure that we're all thinking about you, have you will.
Let me ask you on that vein. Hold on, B. In that vein, listen. This is stuff we can talk about now. Give me a story. somebody we recruited hardcore. You were in there in those recruiting meetings. Somebody who chose otherwise that you thought was going to come to OU. Who's somebody like you remember 2 cycles ago, wherever the hell they're at now, big time recruit or crazy story? What's a situation where we were like, yo, this kid's coming to OU, and then they ended up not coming?
Yeah, that would be the kid down at A&M, David Hicks Jr.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah.
I thought I think we're going to get him. I think we were like high on his list, possibly 1B. I think A&M always had 1A based off of some things that we just couldn't see behind the scenes, So, but
Money.
I thought that, you could say it, I won't, right? But I thought that OU had the better plan for him, for his position type. Looking at him now, he hadn't made a lot of noise down there at A&M. I think the kid's out of position. He does a lot of workouts off the field with different guys, and he had a coach that does all that at a high level. He had the opportunity to have a coach that has a track record of having guys that are in the league now that are playing at a high level. You know what I mean? He just needs he can give you the work and the tools to go with that. He's going to give you every counter available if you're willing to learn it, but you have to be willing to practice it at a high level. So yeah, David was probably that one that got away based off of some off the field things and should have went ahead and stuck with OU.
His loss.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, to talk a little bit about just where, yeah, I mean, me and DMAC remember the Hicks thing. It was a massive recruiting cluster, just all over Sooner Nation. I think he was up there. There was a kid who committed to LSU a few years prior to that, DMAC, and that was kind of a shocker. This was before NIL was a huge thing. And let me just ask you, Lance, you don't have to obviously go into grave detail, but just your perspective on the things that have changed since NIL has become part of the game. Just are the conversations solely different than when you were being recruited? Is it that much of a change, or do you still have a handful of guys and then look for those guys where maybe that is not the most important piece? Obviously, it's life-changing money in some regards, but what have you seen from your standpoint on the changes in that vein?
Well, to state the obvious, money changes everything. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't have any of it. You know what I mean? So the one thing that has changed is the how can I say this? Is the interference some parents and some handlers run on these schools. OU does a good job with recruiting the right guys that are about the right stuff. So you may have a couple of these conversations here and there, but for the most part, they have to be a player with the big players too, though, right? So, I don't know about those conversations. That's just the reality now. You know what I mean? That's why these schools have general managers now. Now that gives coaches an opportunity to step out of the money talk. You know what I mean? Which none of them like, come on now. I don't want to talk to you about money. I want to talk to you about football, because how in the hell do I know you're going to be a player for us anyways? You know what I mean? Right. Yeah, this rating says it, but, we all see it. Then paid this dude all this money, and now he ain't getting no reps. So that's going to be a thing that may bring this thing back and kind of let them off a little bit, because there's going to be a lot of guys that they miss on, you know what I mean? And nobody likes missing when you're paying money now, let alone giving a scholarship to. But now you got to pay him to sit down and go down there and be a punching bag for the O-line. Not a good look.
Man. DMAC, I want kind of your perspective with just talking and sitting with Lance on the show tonight. And Lance, again, appreciate you being on. I know we have a lot of feedback in the comments and people saying all different types of things. It's been fantastic. Haven't really been focused over there. But DMAC, your perspective on Oklahoma having guys like Lance in the building, and then the value that adds to the program, and maybe why BV was so focused on doing that, because you hear the other side of the coin is, the go out and get the best coach, right? Go out and get, a guy who is, got this resume or that resume. And Venables has made it a high priority that at certain spots, he wants players who kind of went through the fire with him. Guys, maybe even at K-State, guys at Oklahoma, wherever he likes having players who were a part of the journey, who he knows, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but he can count on, for lack of a better word. D-Mac, kind of talk about your perspective, seeing that with Lance being brought in, and sort of what you think about that.
Well, I'll say a couple things. Number one, I don't think there were a lot like Lance, and I'm not saying that because Lance is my bro. I have a lot of conversations within those walls, and the same way Lance talks about him and Schmitty when he was a player, like Lance was there every day, and I'll call a spade a spade. We leveled up, and we have a GM now and all this. It's because it is a corporation. It's a multi-million-dollar, probably even billion in terms of the total valuation of what it's all worth. A lot of not everybody treated the opportunity the same. So I just want to say, just like, and by the way, Lance knows I think everybody knows me. I call a spade a spade. If Lance was soft, I was like, bro, you were soft. I don't have to say that because Lance was never soft. It brings me to a story when we was playing Bones. Remember that Bones? Mm-hmm. We was playing Bones at the apartment. Again, that's another story. but to Lance was my roommate 2 years.
Yeah,
we was grown, but them days was grown. But no, and back to the program. I think what Lance brought to the table was very critical to what the team needed. Obviously, transitioning out and taking care of things in his life now was important for him and his family and what he needed to do. But BV has really done a good job of making sure he brings people into the building who echo his sentiment, who mirror his energy, who duplicate his mindset, because that's what you need, right? You need as many people as possible championing the message, making sure the vision is clear, making sure the repetitions are quality reps, not just raggedy ass reps. And I can say, El Mitch went to the building and did that. Other guys who are alumni went to the building and did that. Some people didn't. And so, at the end of the day, whether I love, respect the hell out of BV, because BV is a guy, Coach BV is someone who I will always respect. At OU, you got to win. And I think he's very aware of the fact that this year, he is under some pressure and scrutiny to get the job done. And like I always say, so long as we stay healthy, I think we're in position to get the job done.
Lance, kind of same question to OU's outlook this season, as DMAC talked about, without necessarily, putting all your chips in on this. Just where do you see this season playing out for them? How important was it to get the offense rolling? You got to see both sides of that coin in practice. You saw Dylan Gabriel and Levy, and an offense that certainly moved the ball a lot better than the one a year ago. It just was not doing what it was supposed to do. Well, what do you think OU's outlook is this year, and do you believe that the players are in place to make a run?
Well, I'll say like this: he has the right staff there, right? There's the same message going up and down that building, from strength and conditioning, offense, defense. That's never going to change. His culture is in place now, right? But the thing about football, which, none of us can ever predict, is who you brought in, are they going to pan out? You know what I mean? So to answer the question, I don't know. You know what I mean? I can only go off of what I know, who's running it. And if I'm a bet man, I'm betting on him. You know what I mean? So it's like, once again, if they can stay healthy, right, and a couple things go their way, I can see them making a complete run. Definitely making a run. Like, there should be nothing less than playoffs right now.
Say that.
Yeah, I'll say that.
With it.
Yeah.
Lance, before we get out of here tonight, and D-Mac, I want you to chime in on some of these because I know you've brought up some stories on the podcast, but the fans that they've got curiosities about games before we spend a whole lot of time, kind of saying goodbyes and all that. I want to talk about a few of the games that were maybe most impactful to you, maybe a win that stands out. Obviously, you talked about the USC loss standing out as a game that you felt kind of slipped away from you guys.
Got
But
y'all asses whooped.
So what were some of the wins?
Right.
Obviously, you had big wins against Texas. What were some of the games that stand out to you when you look back on your time as a player?
So those OU games, I think I never lost a game to them, so I'm proud to say that. But they were big games, right? We were going ranked 2 and 3 against each other. But people don't understand is that you could throw your rankings out the door when you're going in playing Texas and also Oklahoma State. We went and lost against Oklahoma State my first year. We were ranked 2 in the country, and they weren't even ranked. You know what I mean? So memorable would be the Missouri game in Missouri. Chris Chester makes a 2-point conversion catch for us to win that game. Yeah, that was, you know what I mean? We were down. We were supposed to have been up by 1,000, but we didn't know that Brad Smith was as good as he was. But we ended up pulling that game out with the fake field goal.
Man. Well, what made a guy like Brad Smith, because I'm now thinking about that game, what made, Sooner fans are pulling their hair out, being like, why can't you stop this guy? You're on the field trying to get it done. What makes that so difficult?
I mean, you see the guy transitioned to a wide receiver on the next level. So athletically, he was sneaky fast. Doesn't look like he's moving. That dude was a competitor. He was fast, and he had all the ability in the world as a receiver running around playing quarterback.
Man. Well, what was it like? Because you saw Vince Young for 1 or 2 years. I caught
him 1 year. My last year, that's when we rode into Dallas with AD with that Hoss back there, tailback.
That's right.
So Vince couldn't do much about that. Defensively, BB had a scheme dialed up for his ass that he couldn't see coming.
People act like Vince dominated OU. I just want to make sure I put this out there. You know how I feel about Texas. By the way, Barry ran that damn thing into the ground. Les, you didn't know, but Barry created a damn GIF meme or whatever the hell it is. I went ahead and reposted it. But no, Vince didn't do no magicals. He had a year where they beat us pretty dang bad. I think it was 05-06 is the year he did. But Vince wasn't like some OU killer. He didn't need that. Again, we hung out. By the way, Lance, OU Texas, come hang out with us. Trust me, you want to come hang out with us. OU Texas. We hang out with Jamal Charles and V Young if we feel like it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't deal with the ugly. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we kick it. But let me tell you this, and God rest his soul. Go back and watch OU Texas the year before, and Cedric Benson? I think Cedric Benson passed away, and I don't want to say anything negative about somebody who's no longer with us. But Lance knocked his ass out in the A-gap. Lance, we said Lance kissed him. Go watch that play. And I'm not trying to disrespect, you know what I'm saying, God rest his soul, but I think they ran the power up the B-gap, A-gap, and Barry, find the play, post it on X, and let folks. I mean, it's textbook.
I couldn't believe he tried me.
I know.
So
I wanted all that smoke,
man. So last thing, and then I'll let D-Mac kind of close it out as we always do. Who were 2 players at Oklahoma who were kind of the best players you saw during your time, and then 2 of the best players that you played against, where you saw them on film and in person, and you were like, man, those guys are something else?
Oh boy, that's a good question. But my number 1 or 2 guys, and I won't even put Adrian in that category. I think we leave him out of it, right? Because we'll leave him out of it. But for me, it was Jamal Brown and Davin Joseph, because these are two guys that I had to physically deal with. Taught me a lot about pad leverage and playing linebacker on this level. Those dudes were big, they're strong, they were fast, they were nasty, and they were tough. And they helped my game, boy, on a whole nother level. And on the opposing side, he was pretty damn good. Boy, there's so many. That's a good question. Brad Smith was one of the toughest I played against.
Darren Sproles whipped y'all ass one night.
But I didn't play that game.
Oh, you did it. Yeah.
But hey, I did play his ass the year after and go pull that film up. You know what I mean? Hey,
that is correct.
Pull that up, baby.
Darren Sproles, bro. This is on the goalpost. I think I called on Mitch like
not against me though.
Yeah,
pull it up, baby. I'm telling you, go pull it up. Hey, yes, sir.
I was throwing jab. I was trying to find a jab to throw your ass.
Nope, not over here. You know I was hot about that game. I was on the sideline, hurt. Right?
That's facts. You and Mike had just took the Arizona job.
Yep.
Nah, let me see who y'all had. I mean, obviously that USC team had some boys on it that y'all boys played against.
Yeah, but it wasn't. You know what? Yeah, we didn't get a good feel for it just based off of how it went down. You know what I mean? Like,
I still be wanting to slap Bradley on the back of his neck. Like, what the hell are you thinking, bro?
I mean, I do and I don't. He had made a lot of plays that year, so if they were, we'd all be loving him. You know what I mean? So we have to take the good, because that dude was probably one of the, obviously the best walk-on ever to come in through OU. You know what I mean?
And
so yeah, he did a lot of really good things, and I don't blame him. You know, national championship, and he was being more aggressive than timid. So you know, you get what you get.
That's the coach in your ass. Don't he just sound like a coach? He just sound like a coach.
Yeah, let's be for real. Was that? I think this is stuff that fans are curious about. Was that something that you guys felt like palpably in the air when USC got that possession off that Bradley fumble, and now they're driving in territory? I can't remember what the score was. It might have been
we were up 7-0. We were winning.
Yeah.
Travis scored on our first possession. We stopped them. They put up the ball.
Yeah, so in the moment, we didn't feel it because we were like pissed off, gunned up, like we're still rolling here. Let's go. Because remember, it was a couple 3-and-outs back and forth. You know what I mean? So there wasn't any reason to be like, oh shit, they're gonna score again. You know. But after about the second time, right, and then a couple easy scores, it was like, damn. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if we got them at the 50, we got a shot here. But, you know, you can't give a team that good, that close of an opportunity to score on you. So, looking back on it, in the moment, no, I didn't really feel like, oh, shit, the air sucked out of this. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to quit anyways. Like, I literally was pissed off the whole game. I was trying to hit everything moving, but couldn't hit nothing the way I wanted to. It was just one of those nights. It was literally one of those nights.
Yeah, because that's some of the legend that's come out of that game, and you can totally correct this, that you'll see on boards is that guys quit early on, that players were just not bought in late. To talk about that.
No, not at all. They just have to understand is that once you get down like that, even though think about the offense that we had, right? As good as we were on offense, we couldn't run our normal game plan. So no one quit, you know. Mind you, we sat a starting cornerback that game against a 6'4" receiver. We had a 6'3" corner that I personally felt like, you know what I mean, would have did a better job on him, not knocking who was in the game, but you know, you burn a red shirt for a younger player, right? And he's not necessarily didn't get the reps for that game anyways. So, you know, there were some things that happened behind the scenes that did take an effect, and that falls on that player that let his team down in that moment. You know what I mean? It was a decision that had to be made from the top.
And D-Mac, close us out tonight, man. Just closing thoughts with Lynch. You know, obviously, a guy you brought on to the show, you have a relationship with. Just talk about that and maybe take us home on this.
Just grateful to have my man on here. He knows football inside and out. We talk football offline a ton. I ask him questions to help clarify things, schemes, gaps. You know, what were they seeing? What did you see? Just to continue my acumen, because I think a lot of people saw Lance hit the scene and just saw kind of a mean, athletic dude running around and just like blowing shit up. Lance is a nerd or a student of the game. Like, he understands the X's and O's very well, and it helped me really to improve, you know, how I look at the defensive side of the ball, always trying to improve. And so I definitely wanted to give him a chance to speak, talk to, you know, his time as a Sooner. Lance was on two teams that had the season ended a little different. They could have been the best teams ever. You know, I always have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because they talk about best teams of all times. You know, they have all these conversations, and of course they bring up the 01 Miami team, which of course the same team as the team in 2000 that, you know, they didn't make it to the Natty. They bring up some of these teams, and the thing is, if one of Lance's teams win, those teams are squarely in that conversation because of J-Dub and AD and Lance and Teddy and Tommy Harris, right? So like the guys who are our little bros, who we loved on, like that was family. I always wish they could have got one, you know what I'm saying, 03 or 04. Again, I still give them hell about 04. They got that ass whooped, and it pisses me off. And I mean, I was literally throwing furniture in my house. I was hot. But to have my bro on is super dope. You know, obviously I'm going to be trying to get him back, I think, during season, to have a backer's perspective to talk about some of the things you see defensively. If you got time, bro, I'd love to have you back to do that. I think a lot of people really appreciate your candor. I don't know that a lot of people have heard you speak, you know what I'm saying, and just kind of know how you move and do what you do. So salute from bro to bro, dog. You brought it, you know what I'm saying?
Appreciate
and I, you know, you just brought back hella memories of some shit we went through. I forgot.
I appreciate it. I love it, man. Anytime.
Yeah. But anyway, bro, I appreciate you being on, man. Absolutely. You know, to all of you guys, we had over 140 people listening live at different times. I thank you guys. By the way, Sooner Bob, thank you for the super chat. Sent us $5. You know what I'm saying? Barry, put some gas in your car with that or something.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? No. Hey. Not to disrespect his. That's respect by him. Super love.
Absolutely.
You know yeah. That's a dope deal. But nah, man, I Lance, we do this for fun, man. We've had folks, we've gotten licensing deals out of this, sponsorship deals out of this, and that's all cool. I appreciate all the things that come our way, but at the end of the day, it's because we love to do this. And Barry said something. Barry, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say what you said to me today. Barry said this season he want to be number one. Well, God dang it, I don't mind being number one either. So we're gonna work our tails off. We're gonna bring the content. We're gonna bring the players. We're gonna talk the things that need to be talked, and we're gonna just put our best foot forward. 2 to 3 days a week. Lance, I'm gonna see if we can get you once a week or once every couple of weeks, and see if you can help out with a lot of the defensive side analysis and things of that nature. Barry, always, bro. You already know, man. Doing this deal with you 3 years has been a blessing. And thanks to everybody else who's been on tonight. No, we're not going to share those stories. Don't be DM. I'm going to get some DMs asking. And I'm not going to answer. Right. But, hey, that's crazy, though. The feds really came on his recruiting trip. And somebody definitely went to jail on the other night. But I think the Domino story is probably the best story now that I think about it. Just because
I feel bad now. Just a competitor.
Hey, if you know the Domino story. Barry, I'll tell you offline. But anyway, all right. Thanks to El Mitch. I appreciate you for being on tonight. Thanks.
Appreciate you guys having me, man. Have a good night.
Absolutely. And Sooner Nation, want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. Lance, I don't know if you heard at the top of the show, but this was we didn't plan it like this. This was episode 110. So just happened to work out. Yep. Sooner Nation, thank you all for tuning in tonight, and we will see you soon.